piece of meat?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Wednesday and welcome to episode 265. Welcome to the Birds and welcome to the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the Birds, the guys, Zach.
Good evening.
And I'm joined by Craig there, but you can see he's on the phone. I know you, Coach. He's just begging and pleading that they show up this weekend. We're also joined here by Craig. What's up, Craig?
I was talking to BV, telling him we had to get it done this weekend. So,
if you guys are wondering, what we're talking about here in Oklahoma, where we're at.
That's a ghost that just pulled that Blu-ray down. You better not talk trash about OU.
Unfortunately, we're here in Oklahoma, but it's OU Texas week. And if you're in the South, if you're in Texas or if you're in Oklahoma, it's a big week. Texas State Fair is going on. OU Texas, big game. Texas OU, however you want to look at it. But not only is
if you're not from the United States, which we have a few of you,
a lot of you,
it's college football, which is massive in the United States. One of the biggest sports. I mean, it probably goes NFL, NBA, college, if not NFL, college, NBA. So it's massive. OU Texas has a huge rivalry that's been played for over 100 years.
It's the Deep South.
Meet in the middle at a stadium in Dallas. Both teams are about 110 miles away from the stadium, so it's literally a neutral site. Check it out on YouTube if you don't know, or if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's pretty epic. Not last year's game, though. Go to the game before, 2021.
Last year's game was epic. But this year, not only is it OU Texas week, it's spooky season here at the podcast. It starts off today, next week, the week after, and then we end literally on October, almost October 31st. But Zach, we'll start with you. How's the week been? Everything been going good?
The week's been going good, slowly but surely. Guys, I can't even believe we're in October, honestly. Only 2 months left of the year, and that's it. We start 2024.
I know. It's crazy.
What about you, Craig?
What about me?
How's your week been going? Just gearing up for Saturday. I know that.
Man, that's just I'm the only one in the IT department at my job currently. Ed, not our Ed, but the guy that I work with is in out of state, so it's just me. But I'm holding it down. Still was able to kind of leisurely watch the movie today, and just been chilling, just been chillaxing.
Are you at home right now or at work?
I'm at home. Yeah. So since he's gone, I asked the school if Adley could do morning care as well for the week, since there's not any spots open. They said that they would let her do it. So I've been able to go in early this week, which is why I'm able to be here on time.
Awesome. Johnny, what about you?
You know what? It has been a good week. It has been a fascinating week. The weather is finally starting to get cooler. The sun is going down a lot sooner than everybody wants it to, but I'm excited. I like this time of year.
And it's pouring outside right now.
Yeah. So if we lose electricity, if this show just comes to an abrupt end, just know the powers that be, we appreciate it, and we'll either be on a little bit later, or that is just probably going to conclude the episode. But I'm glad everybody was able to join us here today. We are live on Imasawa Productions YouTube channel. We're live on Facebook. And then we are live in podcast land. Everybody who downloads this episode every single week, you can download it Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. and you can check us out on the social media. We just got done giving away a nice, big, girthy summer end giveaway. Summer's over, fall's here, so we were able to give away two $25 gift certificates to San Marcos and a case of OKC soda to our winner. So go follow social media, and if things pop up, share, like, subscribe, comment. That's all you have to do, and you can walk away with some food in your belly. You can also walk away with some drinks. Digital copies are given out all the time, so go follow us on social media. Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X is Cine-Men405. Or you can check us out on the email, which we are doing some emails today before we get out of here today. So Cine921@gmail.com. It's Cine-Men921@gmail.com. We also talked about Star Trek last week, guys. Last week was our final Star Trek episode. We concluded our Star Trek trilogy. Craig, you joined us for a few of them. I think you joined us for all of them except for the Beyond episode. Zach, you were in all three of them with me. Wow, what did it feel like, honestly? Let's spend a little bit of time just to talk about those three films in general, real quick. What does it mean for you guys whenever we do something like that, where we'll talk about a 3 or 4 film set saga?
I like it. I think especially when we get to divide it up throughout the year, like we did Star Trek, we did it over 3 months. I think we're planning on doing Return of the King for its 20th anniversary in December. So it was cool to do those 3 films as they celebrate their 20th anniversaries. But it's just fun to kind of see the progression of like a film series and just kind of see where we were whether we saw it in the theater or the first time watch, compared it to now, and if we're still fans of that trilogy or franchise.
Agreed. Yeah, like Zach said, I'd like to see, not just necessarily the story and how it goes start to finish, but you depending on how long the trilogy gets to go. I mean, I know, say like Harry Potter obviously has a lot more movies than the trilogy, but you get to see those people kind of grow into their own, depending on what age they start in the first one. So obviously the bond grows bigger and better every time they're on screen. The chemistry gets better, and hopefully the movies get better as time goes on. It's not always the case, but yeah, it's just nice to see that progression over time.
So we just finished our 5th year. We're going on to year number 6 next year. If you guys want to hear anything that we talk about, as far as like, we've talked about almost all the Star Wars movies, Friday the 13th. We've talked a lot of collections and a lot of franchises. Go back into the archives, give us a like, subscribe, listen to any of those past episodes in the archives. For some reason, I don't even know, but like the Bone Collector episode just went viral like a few weeks ago. A lot of our older episodes are like hitting a lot of downloads recently. So, and a lot of them are like overseas. So like, go back, listen, download, and just continue to share and show us some love. We really appreciate it, especially audio wise. We know a lot of you guys listen on the way to work, on the way to the daycare center, wherever you go, on the gym, at the gym. We appreciate it. So on the gym, yeah,
Who's Jim?
So, some girls have a boyfriend named Jim. They might listen while they're on gym. But either way, wherever you're at, go listen, like, subscribe, and tell your friends about us.
I'm with you, Zach. I can't believe he took it that way.
Yep.
But he did.
Either way, what about, we'll start off with Craig. Do you have any recent watches or recommendations that you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I wasn't with you guys last week. We checked out Elemental, Disney Plus. It's all right. It's not the worst new movie that's out there, but it was a good watch. Adley, it's not one of those movies that Adley really attached to, though. She watched it a couple times, and I think that was it. We went back and watched Inside Out. That was a pretty good one.
Yep.
I'm all caught up. Actually finished Ahsoka, which was super excited for it whenever it was announced. It came out. I watched the first episode. Was like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not like binging TV series currently. Watched a couple episodes, waited a couple weeks, and completely binged it over the last couple of days. So I absolutely love what Dave Filoni is doing, the story that he's telling, the trajectory that they're taking, the potential trajectory that they're taking Star Wars, and what they're doing with I'll leave it there. I won't give any spoilers, but they could really dive into the outside lore that we haven't really dug into as in movies, and really dig into something that could be special. So I'm excited for that.
I'll rapid fire through mine before we get to Zach. I checked out No One Will Save You. I mentioned it last week. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. The first hour and 20 minutes was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it, but it just fell super flat towards the end of me. I don't know if anybody else has checked it out or seen it, but I would like some other thoughts and opinions. There's a lot of people out there who say it sucked, but like a majority of the people are just in love with it. So I honestly would like to get somebody else's opinion on it. Rewatch Sleepy Hollow. Fantastic movie to watch this time of year. 4K transfer was amazing. I watched The Ruins. Did not like it. Skyline, terrible. Rewatch Saw, because I plan on going and seeing the new Saw film soon. It takes place. Yeah, it takes place in between the first Saw and the second Saw. So I'm glad I don't have to do like an entire marathon before I go see it.
Remember when we did that with like Saw 1 through 6?
Yeah,
and we got
there
to
was
like
only like 4 of them.
We got to number 3, and it started. Every other scene was skipping. You were like, "This is trash." Never going back to that video place again.
One stop video. I checked out A Million Miles Away on Prime. Very, very good. Highly entertaining. It's got Michael Pena in it. I recommend it if you guys stream on Amazon Prime. Being Flynn, Robert De Niro, Paul Dano, fantastic film. Paranorman, Child's Play, 9, A Single Shot with Sam Rockwell. The Nightingale. It's 2018. Very brutal. A lot of beating, a lot of raping, a lot of killing. If you don't have a strong stomach, I don't recommend it.
So A24 essentially.
It kind of. Dead Man Walking with Sean Penn, Susan Sarandon, phenomenal fucking movie. I can't put this movie over enough. It's a random watch, random buy, 1995. It's just a good story, and it's a prison movie essentially about a guy who is given the death sentence, and the nun who is with him, who is played by Susan Sarandon. She is just walking through his last few weeks as he tries to appeal the death sentence. And she gets scrutinized for it because of the crimes that he committed. But she's just trying to, do the right thing, she says. And I recommend it. If you guys want to know where to find it, I think you can rent it for like $3. I would hand this copy out to anybody who personally wants to watch it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I checked out The Birds for today's episode.
Hey, so I remember you were on a biography kick.
I was on a huge biography kick, yeah.
Did you watch the Kelsey thing on Amazon Prime?
I did not watch the Kelsey thing, but I did watch almost like a month or two ago. You started me on this documentary kick by mentioning the Johnny Manziel documentary to me.
Phenomenal.
It was good, but it did raise like a lot of issues and stuff. But I liked it. I could have sworn there was another documentary you brought up to me.
The Gators.
Oh yeah, that one was good.
That one was trash.
I like that one.
I wanted to see all the arrest, all
you
Aaron
wanted to see
Hernandez stuff.
the meat and potatoes about what happened.
And all they did was Urban Meyer.
Yeah. I think it was I like the Johnny Manziel one, but
so the Kelsey one was really only supposed to be like them following him in his last season in the NFL for personal. And it ended up being him and Travis in the Super Bowl. So it was like everything leading up to it, them starting their podcast. It was like just really entertaining to see how it started out just being a kind of farewell video for just himself to kind of reminisce on this stuff.
Is Taylor Swift in it?
No, this is pre.
Well, I don't want to watch it.
Pre-Swifty. Whatever.
I need the Swifty in my life.
It's even better. It's got I don't know.
I'm sure it's garnered like 1,000 points now
Kelsey,
since that's happened.
But it's called Kelsey on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
No, I might check it out. Oh, look, Ed joined us. Ed's here.
Oh, who the f is that?
If you guys are sitting here listening for the first time, this is Edward. He's joining us here.
Stuck in
ninja. Those are my recent watches. Like I said, if I had to recommend anything, Bing Flynn, Dead Man Walking, and A Million Miles Away. Zach, we'll start with you. You have anything that you want to recommend? You have any recent watches?
Yeah, I finished the Chucky movies. Cults and Curse and Cults were actually pretty decent, better than the last two. And I did start the Chucky series about halfway through season 1. It's actually pretty damn good, to be honest. Actually, the drama of it's actually pretty entertaining.
I watched the first one this week because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I'm going through just the original kick. I'm just watching originals. I'm not watching the whole fucking franchise.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did you enjoy and appreciate the first one? And because I know it was like a first time watch for you, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's so interesting to watch a series that it's interesting to watch a character that people are legitimately afraid of when it's so fake, looks so terrible in today's world. It's just like, how does his little hands strangle people? I don't understand it. It's so stupid. But
give me the power I beg of thee.
He just shit all over Chucky.
Did
you watch the Mark Hamill reboot?
No, I didn't watch that one because I know it has nothing to do with the TV show, so that I know of. So, but the show's pretty good, to be honest. I think season 3 actually starts tonight, so I think they're doing like a Hulu thing where like it airs on USA Sci-Fi and it goes on Peacock the next day, if I'm correct.
Oh, nice.
So, and then I did go see Saw 10, and I went and saw The Creator. So I probably Saw 10. Craig, I think you might like The Creator because it's essentially, to be honest, it's Rogue One mixed with the District 9. If you once you watch it, you kind of understand those two films put it together.
The Creator.
Yeah, it's from the director of Rogue One, from Gareth Edwards.
Did it have Johnny Washington in it?
Yeah.
And Ken Watanabe.
Yep.
Ken Watanabe.
And
Jimmy Chan.
Yep. And then almost finished season 4 of Yellowstone. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice.
That's The Creator. Okay.
Zach, why do they call it Saw 10 when it's in between 1 and 2?
You gotta go watch it to find out.
Oh my gosh.
You're interested in it.
So the poster is like the eye suction.
The eyes. Yeah.
Was that gruesome? What was that like? I mean, everybody knows that it's. If you don't want to hear it, pause for like 30 seconds.
Sucking every now and again.
I'll just say that whole thing is like a minute of the movie, and that's it. That whole gimmick is
like
just
all
1
the other
minute.
traps, like all the other traps that on the poster, the cover of the poster.
Yeah, but
I
actually,
know those are usually quick. But like, was it pretty gruesome?
Not as gruesome as I thought it would be, to be honest. So no.
What's the most gruesome opening? Because there's the one where they're in the box and you got that girl lowering down on the blade. Was that one pretty gruesome?
Probably between 3 to 7.
Like out of all the opening kills, or just in this movie?
The opening kills.
The opening, the one that always got me was the second one, where it was like the Venus flytrap, and it just like closes on the guy's face. That one was kind of brutal. So
yeah, I told
and
Johnny,
then I think
baby, I don't want to watch it.
I think in the second one, the other one was where Shawnee Smith gets thrown in the pile of needles. I was like,
that's the
horrible.
worst. Yeah,
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That was more emotionally, for that matter, because of all the needles being her character being the ex-drug addict that she was. Dude, that was.
As we were talking about being emotional with needles.
It. Well,
No,
I mean,
get what you're saying.
like, you know, to go through that abuse or do that for a part of your life, and then to be thrown right back into what you've beat. You know,
that was just 2020.
When is Jigsaw gonna do like because I know this is turning into a Saw episode, which is not meant to be, but Jigsaw always takes the people who
fuck the birds.
Jigsaw takes the people who don't appreciate life and he puts them through a massive, terrible game. When's he gonna start taking like diabetics and he puts them and he's like, you don't appreciate life. So
That's
sugar
hereditary.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, but how do you know? Like, oh, I went through your human history.
You have 20 seconds. You have 20 seconds to get out, or a tube of sugar will go into your bloodstream.
Dude, he does the same shit with any and everybody else. I mean, honestly.
What
like,
are you, Edward?
Kellogg's.
Speaking of Kellogg's, Edward, what'd you check out this week?
This motherfucker.
Anything that you want to recommend?
Rice Krispies. Oh, he left.
Honestly, man, if anything, One Piece Netflix,
Trash.
Not bad at all. It's really not bad.
One Piece is trash, period.
Damn. I don't know what made you upset, but do you need a hug?
No. I hate how everybody's like, oh, One Piece is fire, and I watch it one time and I'm like, oh, it's low-key trash. Just like Naruto. Naruto's trash.
Oh my god.
Naruto did piss me off for a while, especially Believe It. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
They go from Naruto to Boruto, and all they do is eat ramen.
Ichiraku ramen.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Innocent hate mail.
If you guys want to get in this debate and send some hate mail, send it at CINEME921@gmail.com.
You're wrong because Naruto's the best of all time, dude.
You got to do this.
Don't know what you're talking about, and Shikamaru is my favorite character. Like, motherfucker, chill.
Like, I get the whole premise of the whole ninja stuff, but
man, never mind. I'm not gonna bring a whole. Anyways,
people are listening to this like we're here for a 1960s movie. I want to hear a 1960s movie.
Nah, they're like, yeah, keep bitching at each other. Nah, man. I would say still on True Blood, on the last few episodes of True Blood. One Piece Netflix series, I finished that.
Did you just search for worst TV shows of all time and started binging, or?
No, I searched for what would piss Craig off more.
So worst TV shows of all time.
No, that would be that man up there.
Zach hasn't done anything. Zach watched perfectly good movies.
He's just pissed that he has to talk about a Hitchcock movie tonight. So
he's like, I gotta watch The Birds. Might as well watch everything else that's trash.
This is for the fucking birds.
Speaking of the birds, that's what we're getting into today. That's what kicks off spooky season. A wealthy San Francisco female pursues a potential boyfriend to a small Northern California town that slowly takes a turn for the bizarre when birds of all kinds suddenly begin to attack people.
Northern California.
Starring Rod Taylor, Tippy Harden, Hedren, Jessica Tandy, written, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
Shit, sounds like Saul needs to go ahead and get people who are having strokes all the time.
I'm having a stroke, man. I'm It's a joke.
You
I'm
missed
telling
him devour 3 turkey legs.
I know. You should be fine.
Hey, that's the Patreon pregame show. You guys
Oh,
gotta
dear.
pay to see that.
Little, what do they call that? The mukbang, where you're eating all the food. You're
Mukbang? Fucking mukbang. Nikocado avocado over here.
But IMDb has this at a 7.6. Rotten Tomatoes is at 94%, while the Metascore has it at 90%. With a budget of $3.3 million, it grossed a little over $11 million at the box office, with a March 28th, 1963 release date. Let's turn it over to Zach. This was your pick. We started this podcast off, ironically, with an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Episode 1, we watched Psycho. We've also done a Psycho Redux episode. We also talked about North by Northwest. So this is technically our 4th Alfred Hitchcock episode. Zach, we'll start with you. Have you ever got to see this inside of a theater? Do you remember the first time you've ever watched The Birds, and what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
Yeah, I haven't seen this in the theater yet. I might do it this October, to be honest. But I think the first time I'd watched this was probably, I don't know, probably in college. It was probably I was on a Hitchcock kick. I did Psycho, Rear Window, North by Northwest, and The Birds and Vertigo and all them. So it was probably back in college, maybe a little bit before then. I remember liking it. I wasn't too enthralled with it the first time I saw it, just because it was just, what's going on and all this and that. But the bird, I mean, obviously you go to see the bird attacks and all this. On this rewatch, I dug it a lot more. I appreciated the technical aspect of it, which we'll get into. So yeah, I thought I had a fun time with it this time around. So,
Craig, we'll start next up with you. Is this your first time rewatching it? First time ever?
No, I've watched it before. I was super young, and then I just remember the ending scene with the birds in the house. But rewatching it this time, it felt different. Just felt like I haven't, like everything I thought I remembered, I didn't really remember.
Almost like a whole brand new watch.
Yeah, it felt like a brand new watch.
Pinch up the hairs.
Like, I get why it's like, I mean, I guess I get why a lot of people like it. But it was rough for me this time. Like, I get why it's a classic. I get why it would be considered a thriller horror back in the 60s. But it was rough this time around.
Edward, next up, first time watch, or what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
Initial watch. First time ever launched. Yeah, I'm kind of with Craig on it. It was, I don't know, man. Slow. I don't know.
Zach, take us boldly where we've never gone before, back into the 60s. We are going down the birds. This, and I'll keep mine short and sweet. This was my probably 4th time watching it. And first few times I was like, I get it. It's okay. It's probably not going to be the first or maybe even the second Hitchcock film that I grab if I want to watch, Hitchcock. But this time around, I felt a little bit more appreciated about the film. There's definitely some stuff that I could probably take in and out and make it a little bit more enjoyable. But I still had a pretty good time with it this time around. I was able to laser focus in on it. I appreciated a lot of the stuff around maybe after the 45-minute mark. So we'll get into that conversation here in a little bit. But Zach, let us know, why was this one of your picks compared to maybe some of the other horror movies out there? And what is it about Hitchcock that just makes you go back and just want to watch some of the older stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest thing why I picked this movie, it's celebrating 60 years this year. To be honest, the Warren's going to show it towards the end of the month, towards Halloween, and just celebrating its 60th anniversary. I was just like, hell, we've done Hitchcock before, like you said, Psycho, North by Northwest, Rear Window. I was just like, let's do another one. So, and I know this is considered, a lot of film fans, a lot of critics consider this to be his last good film. He did have a couple more after this, but just not to the success of his big 4 films or 5 films that he's known for. And it was just one that, like, I've always heard of, and like I hadn't seen it in a while. So I was just like, yeah, it's Halloween season. Let's give it a go and see what the other guys think about it. So yeah, I mean, those are pretty much my reasons for picking it.
Going into the movie, I kind of just like, opening the door and going down the, of course, the film opens up with the bird scene is, hey, they're in an actual bird shop. You get your Alfred Hitchcock cameo. Yeah, you get your Alfred Hitchcock cameo right away. And it just focuses on Melanie and her first interaction with Mitch. So really you got 2 different styles of film here. You have the first 45 minutes, which you really don't see hardly any action or suspense or any kind of thrills. It's more of a, honestly, it kind of felt like a stalking love story. Like she's going out of her way to get on Big Mitch right there.
And that was the thing for me on this rewatch, because like I said, I hadn't seen it in a couple years. And so this whole opening with like Melanie and Mitch in the pet shop, I was kind of at like a loss of like they're clearly setting up the idea that they know each other, but I kind of agree with you, Johnny. One's stalking the other one, but there's kind of like an interest in each other. So it's not the guidelines for the relationship's not really clear. But I mean, I enjoy the 2 characters. I think, it's what I learned.
Cat and mouse.
Cat and mouse.
It was almost cat and mouse-ish.
Yeah, and I watched some of the documentary on the Blu-ray, and the screenwriter said he came to the actors and said, just think of it as like a screwball comedy, because those are big back in the 40s and 50s. And I could see definitely where that idea came from, especially in their performances. So
now I know this was like based off of an idea of an actual bird attack that happened in like 1961, but the thing that kind of intrigued me the most, and there's a movie that keeps playing in the back of my mind that I compare this movie to throughout the entire watch today. Zach's probably gonna hate me for it, but I kept just replaying this movie in my mind. I'm like, what's giving these birds the idea, or what's setting them off to do what they're doing? And through the whole movie, and it almost makes it sound like the birds are the victim in this, or the birds, they can't flock together, they don't eat together, stuff like that. All different kinds of species of birds. And I find it also interesting that Melanie, when she gets to this town, Zach, help me with the town that she goes to get old Big Mitch.
Odega?
Odega,
yeah.
The Dagobah system. She is the only blonde in this town, and there's like a few scenes throughout the movie that make her seem like she's the reason these birds are coming here. She's the only, they make it point out like she's that Barbie.
Are you talking about The Mist? Or is that the one that was playing through your head?
No, I'm gonna get ready to say the name here in a little bit.
It's Mark Wahlberg.
It is. It's The Happening.
Jesus Christ!
You know why? Because throughout the entire time of The Happening, people don't know why these plants are releasing these toxins to kill these people, and I kept thinking about the same thing. I'm like, well, The Happening gets a lot of shit on, and I don't know why. People hate it. People hate Mark Wahlberg's performance. Plants killing people. But like in this movie, like I kept thinking about the same thing. What's setting off these birds to do what they're doing? Like, you take the most simplest, prettiest plant in the world, flowers and plants and trees, and they were releasing toxins and killing people. Birds, which seem to be peaceful, innocent little creatures, they're doing the same thing.
But that's the thing that I like about the movie is that there's no explanation. Like you said, there's no explanation why the birds are attacking. It's just, it is what it is. By the end of the movie, you know, when they leave the house, they're everywhere. I mean, the birds are everywhere, take it like over the house, the road, everywhere. And, you know, obviously we're jumping way far ahead, but the ending is pretty much ambiguous. Do they live? Do they die? Do they get attacked? Do they get out of town? What happened? Now on the Blu-ray, there is an alternate ending that you have to read like the script notes. And essentially they do get attacked like through the roof of the car, but they make it out okay, essentially. So
see, I mean, same thing with The Happening. No explanation on why, how. And I want to ask Ed and Craig, like, what do you guys think of because that movie just kept popping in my head. What do you guys think? Fair assumption, or is it like, am I overthinking this whole bird thing?
I think maybe overthinking it. I think it wasn't. You didn't see a lot of like. I don't know. I think it was just a lot.
I'm not comparing the two, but I'm saying it kind of feels like Stephen King maybe had gotten an idea like that from, hey, birds are attacking people. Why can't plants?
Well, I mean, this has potential to go ahead and actually influence almost any and every movie after it, for that matter, of course. But you know,
it's essentially almost like a monster movie.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was more naturally explained than that. I think it was just something that maybe all the birds consumed or something like that, or a toxin or something in the air from the sea or a town or something that made the birds disoriented or maybe blind or something, and they just were going after whatever possible.
Well, that's a good assumption about the birds being blind. That's pretty cool.
Because
blind, they would have attacked the kids when they were running. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, I mean, like disoriented or blind or something like that. Like something was messing. Because, like, okay, if you have, I mean, if we have problems, you know, mentally with our ears, with our, you know, different things like that can go ahead and throw our balance off to where we run into all kinds of crap. Maybe it was something similar. Maybe it was a toxin in the air that the government at the time was, I don't know. I know I'm thinking way off, but.
Yeah, but like that's the thing about the movie that is fun. Like you don't know. Like if this movie was remade today, we would have some kind of stupid government project went haywire and it's
and don't you tell me that The Rock wouldn't be the hero.
Oh,
it would just be Jurassic World Dominion.
It would put
we got
Margot
that movie,
Robbie,
Craig. Thank you for reminding me.
It would be The Rock and Margot Robbie saving the town. Swear to God.
Yeah, we got Jurassic World for Dominion, so that's the remake.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it doesn't really give an explanation why the girl in the diner kind of. I mean, she attacks her. She's like, you know, none of this. Yeah, she slaps her. The sound effects on this were amazing. So, I honestly don't think Alfred Hitchcock put any thought into it. He was just like,
no,
there's a news story. Birds flew into a town and it kind of was crazy. Let's just kind of add some horror aspects to it. I think that's as far as he went. I don't think there was anything deeper than that. You know, not him thinking,
let's bring that up for a minute. Like what Craig said, like this is his first movie he did after Psycho. Do you think Psycho was so just popular and just was such a big hit that it didn't matter if he did fucking Empire Strikes Back? It was going to slump kind of just a little bit no matter what?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he never had a success like Psycho after that. I mean, The Birds was a very popular film. And like I said, a lot of people, critics and fans, consider that to be his last good film. But that's like Christopher Nolan doing The Dark Knight. And then while we all like Inception, you know, that's just not on the same level as The Dark Knight. You know, it's just one of those things. That you made such a great film, a masterpiece in a lot of people's eyes, that anything you do afterwards it's not going to even hold a candle to that.
It's the unfortunate part about being great.
Yeah.
You
And
hit
like
that
you
peak,
said, and like you
there's a
said, Ed, I
standard.
mean, this movie was very influential. I mean, there is Johnny, I think you would like the documentary on there. It's like a 14-minute thing about like monster films and how the birds really influenced Spielberg when he did Jaws. Like the scene where Richard Dreyfuss goes in the cage and the shark attacks, he very, very loosely based on when Melanie was in the phone booth and the birds were attacking and crashing into the phone booth as well. It's
You
it's
go into the
very,
cage.
yeah, it's filmed. It's actually filmed very distinctly the same way. So
Cage goes into the water.
And
Sharks
Craig,
in the water.
you know, let's get some more thoughts on you guys. You hear it all the time. Hitchcock, tremendous masterpiece, brilliant, one of the best. But what was one of the big reasons that you guys kind of just did not like hit this movie? This movie didn't hit the feels for you. Was it the first 45 minutes that was more of a love story and a back and forth, but instead of the actual like maybe bird scenes, or even the last 30 minutes didn't get you guys either?
I honestly think it's a mix of that and the simplicity of the story. I mean, like you're sitting there and you're gonna make this is what I'm having a hard, like, yes, there's good parts in the scenes or in the movie. The technical aspects is good. Everything about this movie being from the 60s is a solid movie because you're setting, there's nothing really before you in this kind of genre. You're taking an idea and running with it, and you're being creative. But at the same time, 60 years later, the simplicity of it, and then you don't really get the opening just kind of runs into, like, you're unsure if they know each other or if they don't know each other, and it just kind of, there's a lot of loose ends that are brought into the movie. There's a lot of loose ends that are left in the movie. And then it felt like forever until you actually started getting, like, the movie's called The Birds. It's not called The Birds and the Bees or whatever you want to call it to make it a love story. Like, it felt like it took forever for the actual movie to be about what it's about.
Well, the first bird, like the real bird attack, I mean, Melanie does get attacked by a seagull like 25 minutes, but the real first bird attack doesn't happen until Kathy's birthday, and that's 50 minutes into the movie. So, 25%, almost half of the movie's done before you actually get to see an attack.
Once you get to the part to where once you get to the part to where she kind of goes to the school and tells them to start running, from that point on, the movie flies by. And, like, I think that's about 30 minutes of the movie. Everything before that is just kind of like a cat and mouse love story, and just completely turned me off.
But see, Zach, I can't think you can chalk that up to that, just because, like, how long does it take for Jaws to actually become visible? Yeah, the girl gets attacked in the opening scene, but after that, other than it takes a long time for a shark to actually protrude on screen. So I mean, I don't think
it's also a shark. It's not a freaking crow.
I don't think you can compare that, though, because the very first scene in Jaws, you get the music, you get the naked girl swimming, and you don't see the shark, but you get the shark attack.
But you get the music, you get the suspense. The idea of not being able to see the shark is what makes that work. You see the birds. There's nothing to cover up the birds. So you're like, oh, well, there's the whole thing right there. The only thing that's scary about it is that they attack in masses. Not the pure ferocity of what a shark can do.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, getting attacked by a bird, I've been hit a couple times. It kind of sucks, But at the same time, like,
it would be like Chris Pratt punching that dinosaur in the face, right? You just
fucking 1-2 combo that you learned from Mike Tyson's best friend's cousin's roommate from 3 days ago. Exactly.
Yes, being attacked by a bird would be scary, but I'm not going to put it on the same level as Jaws. Like,
I don't know, it's scary, but it would suck. But no, it's no way, shape, or form the same as a big
Well,
ass.
I think it's more of the size of the flock that matters.
I
About
think
how many of them were like attacking.
Yeah,
Like, when the school group got let out.
it's
Well,
like a
and they're
singular
not-
bee. You're not going to be scared of a singular bee. You can do, but if there's a swarm of bees,
But
that
we're
shit would
talking
be
about
scary.
like we're talking about regular everyday birds, sparrows, crows, if you're if you live by that in that part of the United States, seagulls, all these different. We're not talking about vultures, and we're not talking about like eagles or hawks. These are just everyday
Falcons.
birds you see in the world. And
Eagles
so
of
it's just
ash.
like it's what.
But I mean,
it's just like, I mean, we're talking about just a regular shark. It's not a.
It's not like a thing of sharks.
But
I think
the
I think
big
that's-
thing.
Go ahead.
I think Craig hit the nail on the head. The big thing that is the difference is the shark wasn't seen. The shark was not presented yet. It didn't
The
perforate
suspense and
on
build-up.
the screen, to where the birds just drops here and there. You could see that they were there, here and there, but the first attack wasn't, and it's just kind of like,
Well, and I haven't seen Jaws in a while. I'm sure one of you guys can help me with this.
Mhm.
The story of Jaws is not some side plot love story.
no.
Like it's
Essentially,
about
It's
why
more the
we're-
story of the town, and then, oh shit, I have to go and get this shark because
this
it's
thing,
attacking, townspeople. And now it's three? It was the girl, the boy, and one other person. I think the
something like
boat
that.
person, because
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
this
The-
is, whatever
the rower.
son-
The rower, yeah.
yeah. So, three people, and it's like, oh shit, okay. And now it's this dumbass mayor won't listen to me because it's 4th of July and he wants to make money for the town. So I gotta save everybody's ass now and go. It was more Brody's story than anything.
Well, in essential, the movie. I think what people remember most about Jaws is the three guys out on the boat hunting the shark, but they forget that there's a whole. I'm not going to say a B plot, but you got to remember that it's a town that's being terrorized by a man-eating shark before you even get to the three guys out on the boat.
And
it's just like Full Metal Jacket.
If you guys are just now joining us or in the middle of this conversation, what we're comparing the two for is the first 45 minutes maybe in Jaws, to where it feels like it goes by a lot quicker, to where maybe the first 45 minutes of Birds is a little slower than normal. And yeah, there's like a 15-year difference in the two. But I think the biggest I think the biggest thing is not a bird attack, at least a massive one, but like also I didn't hear a very big powerful score, like maybe that you've gotten that you didn't get in, like you got it in Jaws, you got it in Psycho. There was not really a big score in this movie, but I think the meaning for that was the sound of the birds.
With the exception of the opening credits and maybe when Melanie is driving to the town, there's no score in this movie, which I thought was a very interesting choice on Hitchcock's directing ability. But you're right. You remember the dun 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 at the beginning of Psycho. You remember, obviously the great thing from Jaws. It's just one of those things that brings you into this and brings you into the story is a good score. So yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not saying this is better than Jaws. I can full-heartedly admit Jaws is a better movie. It's much more entertaining. I agree with that. But
I just
on the level, the fact that this was made in 1963, and I can admit that the visuals, they are what they are. But the fact that it's a combination
on visuals.
The fact that they used real birds, trained birds, animatronics, prosthetics, made up birds, whatever, and it still looks good. That's saying something. On a technical aspect, this movie is really, really well done.
Yeah, like I said, technical aspect, it's really well done. I had a few issues with some of the characters. I was texting in the chat whenever I was watching it. The post office guy, she comes in and she's like asking him questions. And he's like, yes. Ask him another question. Yes. Ask him another question. Yes. It's like, bro, expand, help her out a little bit. Like eventually he does, but it's just like she's trying to do stuff, and the townspeople are just like, it's like they're monotone, simple. You know, the answers are so simple, and because I mean, even the school teacher is kind of just like very monotone. So it's like at a certain point, you kind of start to think like, is the town just weird? Like, is there a
magnet underneath that just sucks every bit of emotion out of these?
Like Stranger Things, is there an upside down under this town or something that's driving these birds crazy? But
or even like us, like, and they're the other side.
It's like she's an outsider, and I mean, obviously she's from a big city, so she's kind of a little more up speed. But man, you get to that town, and when she's talking to those townspeople, it's just kind of like the conversations are not there.
That's true. That's true. When she starts talking and they start putting the blame on her, it's almost like maybe the town knows about this and they're okay with the birds doing a little population control, maybe.
Control. Holy shit. There we go. Okay. But I do think Craig kind of hit it when he said this is kind of mindless, because it doesn't seem like it has a payoff. It doesn't seem like it has more than, other than just like, okay, let's load up and go.
There's no payoff. There's really no build up. It's the build up is the love story, and then the bird attacks start to happen. The big bird attack doesn't kill
Big Bird was in there.
The big bird attack doesn't really kill anybody at the house, so there's like no real horror threat.
Sorry.
And the fact that the guy's able to walk outside of the house to get the truck, it's kind of just like
towards the ending, I kind of felt like that was the creepy essential payoff, if you will. Not saying I wanted anybody to die, but just him walking out there almost in the eye of the storm. That's what it felt like. Like I felt like that was the payoff of him walking out there. A bird kind of nibbled at him. You didn't know where the birds were going. He could have been written off and just killed right there by a massive attack. But in that eye of the storm moment, I feel like that was the slow payoff. Like, okay, at this moment, the birds did what they wanted to do. They kind of, that's why I say it reminded me of The Happening so much. Because towards the ending of The Happening, the same thing happened with Mark Wahlberg. He goes out there, and it's just, he doesn't know why, but it's the calmness of the plants, and people aren't dying at the moment. And that's kind of why I feel like that was the payoff of the birds. I don't know.
I feel like this, if it was remade in 2023 or 2024 or whatever, I feel like this would be violent. Like, bro, I feel like condors would come out of nowhere, and like some ancient Mayan bird would just come out just slaying motherfuckers.
What's that extinct? The dodo bird or something?
Oh my God.
Zach, if you had to pick something that would be like the payoff to the birds or the finishing touches of the story, how is the birds, how does the story end for you? Is it a payoff? Do you wish that there would have been a more conclusive ending?
I like the ambiguity of it. It's the idea of, this apocalypse. I mean, that final scene of them driving off, and it's almost like apocalyptic bird world, essentially. And they just continue to drive off, and you don't know if they lived, died, or whatever. And even a little bit before that, where Melanie is actually attacked upstairs with all the birds, I thought was it was shot really well. I thought it reminded me a lot of the Psycho shower scenes, the way it was cut, just at different angles when the birds attacked her or bit her or whatever. And you want to talk about comparing this to other movies. When they're boarding up the house, I immediately thought of Signs. Like, I thought that was I wonder if M. Night Shyamalan was just like, yeah, I'm going to use that. Speaking of, The Happening and everything. So, but for me, I just think that this is, because I like Hitchcock, I like him as a director. I understand what he's trying to go for. And obviously, Ed, Craig, that's not your cup of tea, especially in this film, but it's, it just, not every horror movie has to have something going on. It can be very ambiguous. It can be, you know, like the first Halloween, where it's just like, oh, there's this guy stalking and killing teenagers, but you don't know what he's doing, why he's doing it, or whatever. You know, that's some of the fun of a horror movie, is that you don't have to have an answer for every little thing. You know,
Bro, honestly, like the ending kind of felt like No Country for Old Men in a way.
It's
like-
he's opening up Pandora's box now.
I mean, it let me down. Like, you know, nothing. And I mean, it's not even that it had to have an explanation of why the birds are glitzing out or whatever, but like, give me something. Did they kill all the birds? Did they release a toxin? Did the birds kill people? And they were just like, I'm sorry, no, you know.
Craig, did you hear that?
Like nothing,
Say it
bro.
again.
he compared the ending to No Country for Old Men.
No,
He compared
I
this
didn't.
whole-
Not the ending. I said it was a letdown, just like it. Just nothing, bro.
He thought the ending of the birds was the same letdown of No Country for Old Men.
I got to bring this up. I enjoyed the way the bird noises were made to make it sound like it was the biggest threat. Like, you either got annoyed by how the birds sounded, or that it was like terrifying. And I think somebody mentioned that we didn't bring this up yet either, but the mom in the movie, who was a little overprotective of Big Mitch, like that almost could have came across like a psycho mother ending as well. If this is the first
That's
time
what it felt like.
you're watching the movie, you're almost like, man, is this mom kind of like overprotecting too? And is she the one controlling the birds because she doesn't want nobody going after Big Mitch?
I think the woman that was yelling at her saying she was evil was the one controlling them all, man. That bitch right there just
Not saying like somebody had to control them.
holier than thou.
Not saying like somebody had to control them, but if you're watching this for the first time, you could very well think, hey, what does the mom have to do in all this? Because the first few minutes that you're introduced to the mom, she's overbearing, she's overprotective, it's creepy.
None of them get hurt.
Exactly. Even the ex-girlfriend is complaining about the mom. You know,
I mean,
she dies though.
She
Yeah,
named
school
her
teacher
kid
died.
Mitch.
Exactly. But the daughter's completely fine. Why didn't they attack the daughter?
who was the daughter though? Was the little girl? Was that Big Mitch's daughter?
Yes, that was Big
No, that
Mitch's
was
daughter.
it was the mother. I thought they were father and daughter, but they're brother and sister.
Oh, okay. I knew I
So-
missed that somewhere.
Oh, okay.
There was a line of dialogue saying that, like, the daughter was, was an unexpected thing, and then the dad died, and so she had to raise the daughter on her own with the son's help. So
That's kind of a miss. Craig talked and mentioned earlier about a loose end that didn't get the cap put back on it. That's kind of something I wish I would have gotten a little bit more of a finishing touch on. Is what really was up with the mom and the son? Was it just, that being said, it was just an overbearing mom? The girl died. The birds are really the main story, the main attack. But I kind of wanted to see like a conclusion with the mom story.
What would have really set this movie off is if, like, he kind of did make the mom, like, the birds never affected her. They affected the kid, they affected the daughter, and they affected anyone that set foot near that house. But if she would have been kind of unharmed, not necessarily like in your face, like she's not being harmed, she's kind of controlling the birds. But if they would have kind of implied that in some way, shape, or form, that would have made it creepy, kind of like Psycho.
yeah, that's true.
What do you guys think of the massive explosion scene with the gas? Did you like going back in the middle? That was your very first. Yeah.
Don't like that cigar.
Well, the guy gets out and sees a big old stream of fluid, and he's like,
Oh yeah.
Don't flick it. What?
I kind of like how the camera span went above the town, and you saw the bird looking down on it, and the bird was almost like, "I got some hot dinner now."
Crispy.
Yeah.
You fried my cousin last week. I'm gonna fry you today.
They're just flying and looking like, it's what y'all get. It's what y'all get. That was all us. Like, we knocked that man out. We set this town on fire. It would have been funny if one of the birds was like flying and then it looked back at the camera like, like
Hitchcock is known for a lot of those overview headshots. Like, you guys, we're all going into like year number 5 now of just overlooking movies and just seeing stuff like that. What do you guys think of shots like that and how it's not used that much today? Like over the head shots, looking down. Do you guys overlook that stuff? Do you ever think about any stuff like that? Zach?
It can fit pretty good someplace.
Like I said, I enjoyed the technical aspect of this movie. The rear view projection, the matte paintings, the cinematography was well done. Like I said, if this movie was remade today, it would be all CGI. There's no practicality at all in today's world. It's few and far between. And so just when I go back and see old films like this, I just have a lot more appreciation for like how movies were made.
Yeah.
It's almost like a lost art form in some sort of way.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe they'd use like 50 trained falcons or something.
Woo!
Exactly, man. Imagine just having that bird's eye view right way above the town, and then all of a sudden the peregrine falcon just starts diving.
But it would start off. It would start off with the real falcon, and then it would CGI as it goes down into the town. Though that's the thing.
Shit, they couldn't keep up with the peregrine falcon. 200 miles an hour plus, bro. What?
You get a stuffed bird, and then you put a drone on it with a GoPro.
Weight in the head, just.
If Hitchcock had access to GoPros, he could have done a lot more stuff with this movie.
So we kind of touched on how this one didn't have an impactful score. The bird noises and sounds were really the most maybe horrific kind of.
Which at the time, I guarantee you, that's what he wanted.
Oh, yeah,
he didn't want a score.
Sure.
He wanted the birds to be the score.
We talked about how maybe this could have went different ways, comparing it to some monster movies and a big influence in Spielberg. We talked about maybe the weird mother-son relationship, the love triangle with the lovebirds and Big Mitch. What do you guys think about maybe a favorite scene? Zach, this was your pick. You start first. Do you have a favorite scene or two in this movie?
I'd probably say I think the scene that really drives the movie home is the school attack. When Melanie goes outside and like a crow, one by one, the crows start getting onto the monkey bars until eventually she turns around, it's completely filled with crows. I think that pretty much like summarizes it, and she has to slowly go back to the schoolyard and just let the kids say, "Hey, we got to get out of here." And yeah, I mean it really works. That scene really does work.
My question is, at what point does that make her go like, "Oh,
maybe we should stay
this
inside.
Is weird. This is crazy." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I drive over here by this gas station, and there's thousands of birds, and I'm just like, that's crazy. But I'm not sitting there going into Casey's like, we got to get the hell out of here. They're about to attack. You know what I'm saying?
I think at that point too, like you're also like maybe at that point the only thing she has on her mind is Big Mitch. If we're being honest, like I think she's so worried and focused on Big Mitch, Rod Taylor, who plays Mitch. That's all I think she's really honestly worried about.
Should this movie just be renamed Big Mitch?
If I'm being serious, the way I see the character being written in the first 45, 50 minutes, even after the school attack, that's all she has on her mind. She's willing to stay with his maybe his ex-lover. She's willing to get involved with his mom. Like, what did she see or what does she know about him that she just can't get enough of him? he even tells her to stay in the cafe while he goes and helps out, and the big explosion happens. She's out getting in the phone booth over Big Mitch. Like, at the end of the day, she's risking life and limb for this guy. Am I right?
It's the lovebirds, man. You can't leave. You're in
It kind of made me feel like, again, an original horror aspect of the movie when the girl who's getting attacked, just like they say in Scream, instead of leaving out the front door, she runs upstairs. You know, she's being dumb, and Hitchcock kind of wrote it in here. She's worried about big old Mitch.
Why did she choose to go up to the attic, though? Like, does anybody...
That was a good scene, too.
Like, she grabs the flashlight, goes upstairs to the attic, sees the birds, and then she's like...
I think she heard the noises.
Well, but she opens the door, and instead of pointing the light and like, oh, there's birds, let me close this door, she opens it, flashes the light, shuts the door, and is like, ah! You know what I'm saying? Like, you deserve to die by birds.
You get eliminated from the movie because of your dumb actions. And to follow up with what you're saying about the mother-son dynamic, I think I could be reading it wrong, but like I feel like Melanie was trying to find a way to get out in a way, but like I said, I'm just reading off what I remember seeing from the movie. But the reason the mom kind of chooses Melanie is that she literally puts her life on the line to try to get her family out. And I don't think, and it showed that this woman is willing to, like you said, Johnny, to risk her life for her son. And I think she respects that. Yeah. And she respects that. That's why she's cradling her in the car as they're leaving.
You guys, little known fun fact about Rod Taylor, who plays Big Mitch in this movie. He was 33 while filming. He was just as old as I was in this movie, and I'm looking back at the movie now. He looked like he was in his 50s. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, Big Rod Taylor, just only 33 years old? That's a massive amount of a man, by the way. He was also in Inglourious Bastards.
That was his final movie,
Yep. So, Big Rod Taylor, Big Mitch.
Big Mitch.
Going back to favorites. Going back to favorite scenes. Zach, did you have any more you wanted to name off?
No, that's probably the school attack was probably the one that cemented the movie for me.
It's a little goofy thing, but I always remember it when I rewatch The Birds. When she's speeding after she's got the lovebirds trying to get to Big Mitch, and she's twisting and turving. Do you guys remember the lovebirds like going with her as the car turns? The lovebirds hang this way, and the lovebirds go back this way. Anyway, I thought that was fun in the car ride. She's giving them fucking whiplash.
I thought it was funny that she's driving like 30, 40 miles an hour, but she's turning and the wheel sounds like she's drifting the corners. Like, we got to make this sound like she's going fast.
Fucking DK in the 60s.
I also enjoy the schoolyard scene too. I think that's horrific. The kids automatically getting scratches. They hurry up and get into the car. The gas station, the gas station scene, the cafe scene where they're pointing at her and she's like, "You witch, hang her." I thought that was a good scene. And then, like I said, to me, I feel like the payoff is, when Big Mitch is going in for the car and it's just gloomy and it's quiet and, the birds are just like in that eye of the storm kind of feel. So those are my favorite scenes. Craig, what about you? Do you have any at all?
Hell no. Just kidding.
I personally like the suspense for when they're the final scene when they're in the house. Everything's getting boarded up. They're inside. It kind of gets dim and dark. Then you start to hear the noises in the attic and the sides, and just that scene in general.
Edward?
I would have to say when all the birds started gathering at the jungle gym, I thought that was pretty cool scenery. Because that would be kind of creepy in itself, and I'm sure One of my wife's friends actually is very very creeped out by birds. They're kind of afraid of birds, apparently due to this movie. And
No.
I think that'd be kind of a crazy little thing. Just
Huh.
look over and like 600 birds over there on jungle gyms and lines and all that. Just like, well, kind of thing.
Everybody was pointing out realistic, things earlier. I just want to say, if you really want to point out realistic things, where was the massive amount of bird shit? Huh?
Oh,
Not a dirty car in sight.
you bastard! Not even one drip. Not a
Um,
drip.
And comical wise, if you guys are wondering out there why I keep referring to Mitch, Rod Taylor's Big Mitch, it's only because he
Tell
was
us why.
he was standing at a massive 5'11" back in the day, and that's really tall.
1960s is pretty big.
Yeah, that's pretty tall. Rod Taylor, great Australian actor. If you guys don't know him, look him up. He's a fun actor. Rod
How
Taylor.
tall was Hitchcock?
I'm not sure.
Hitchcock, I think, was like 5'7", 5'8", I think.
Like Paul
Maybe
Heyman.
5'6".
He was 5'7", yeah. Tiffy,
favorite?
she was 5'4", the main actress.
Let's get into star rating. I think I'll go first. I'm going to give this movie, honestly, a solid 8. Like I said, is it going to be the first Hitchcock movie that I go after? It's probably in my top 4, but it's not going to be 1 or 2 that I just grab off the automatically and put in. I could see myself putting it in and just watching the last 30 minutes because of how intense and how good those scenes were. So I think that's why I'm putting it at 8. 8 is still really, really high. If you guys are listening and watching for the first time, we rate our movies 1 out of 10. So an 8 to me is still really high. I think the reason I'm not going to give it a 9 or a 10 is because the rewatchability. But yeah, go check it out. I believe this movie is on Peacock. You can also go rent it. You can go buy it, physical media. I think it just hit 4K a few years ago. It's an amazing transfer, so go check it out. I give this movie an 8. Craig, what about you?
Man, it's tough because this is, you go back and you think about Alfred Hitchcock and the direction that he took his movies compared to what movies were. He really kind of set the stage for thrillers and horror. So, in that aspect, and with the technicality of the film and the stuff that he was able to introduce, and just all of the stuff in the film itself is like a 9 for me for the time. Story, everything else a part of that, I'm going to give it a 6. So technicality, directing, 9. Story, how the movie flowed, 6. I'm going to grade it in a 2-part because I think it rightfully so. You can grade this movie into 2-parter like that.
Oh. So official grade, you said a 6?
9 and 6. So if you want to average it out, like 7.5.
Ed, what about you?
I'm going to seem like an asshole. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 5. Probably won't see it again. Nothing against it. Just wasn't mine. That's all. There was definitely things to appreciate about it, for sure.
Yeah.
I can see why there are things that would be influenced by this movie. I can see, some of the colors were great. I don't know. It was good, but the plot wasn't there, and it just kind of a letdown.
It's tough because this is pre.
Yeah.
75% of 90% of movies. You know what I mean? Like, this is pre a majority of cinema history. So you have to sit there and think, like, if I were to watch this movie before
in the 70s,
if you watch this movie when it came out compared to what has been put out prior to it, there's not much beating it. But
Not really, no.
With the added fact that it's a 60-year-old movie and you're having, we've done so much since then. Like, yes, you can still appreciate it as a classic, but it's a classic for sure. It has old-timey aspects to it.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Zach, star rating?
I'm going to give it an 8. I'm with you, Johnny. I think this is, like I said, I think this is top 5 Hitchcock for me, obviously. The direction, the technicality, the use of the birds. That's why you watch this movie. I do think Tippi Hedren and Rod Taylor do give good performances.
Big Mitch.
Yep. Obviously, it's kind of unclear like what the dynamic is between the two characters, but I think that's the point. As the movie goes on, you're kind of trying to figure it out as it goes. Like I said, overall, I really, really enjoyed it on this rewatch, and so I was just like, yeah, that was a fun rewatch. So I think that's the fun thing about doing this show and watching movies like this. So.
Oh yeah, we love watching different kinds of movies, different kind of film, TV shows. You guys have some recommendations out there for us. Next week, though, we are sticking to spooky stuff, but this time it's a little more gruesome. It's Texas Week here at the podcast. If you guys do not know, next week we're talking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003, starring Jessica Biel. This is in that time where a lot of reboots and sequels were happening. So we're going to talk all about it next week. We are also talking our top 5 horror villains next week. It doesn't have to be Freddy. It doesn't have to be Michael. It doesn't have to be people like that. Just somebody you despise in the movie. Could be Uncle Frank from Home Alone. He could be considered a horror villain. So we're talking all kinds of movies next week. Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003. So it should be pretty fun.
Hopefully we can talk about the Texas Longhorn Massacre.
Oh, speaking of that, guys, Zach aside, because you don't have any facial hair, you guys willing to put your beards up on the line? Come on, let's do it right now, right here live on the podcast. Texas loses, I'll shave all this off. OU loses, you guys shave it all off. What's up?
I want to put this out there right now. I've already put money on Texas.
Okay. Let's put your beard on the line.
You want to know why? You want to know why, Ed?
Let's put your beard on the line. I'll put this on the line.
Because if Texas wins, I make money. But if OU wins, we get bragging rights. It's a win-win weekend for me, baby.
Put the beard on the line, Craig.
No, sadly, no.
They're both 4-0, aren't they?
5-0.
5-0.
Both undefeated.
This is the I guess you would say like best both teams have come in to the Red River since 2011.
Yeah, because this is the best. This is the best damn team that Texas has had
since 2009.
2011 is the last time they were ranked, or both 5-0.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Texas hasn't been 5-0 since 2008, the year they went to the national championship.
That's not true.
That's true.
No, it's not.
Look at it.
Damn, he argued against his own team. He's like, nah, these are just facts, bro. That's all.
No, I just know how much we've sucked for the last 20 years.
As does everybody else.
But next week, we are talking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The week after that, we're talking The Conjuring 2. And then we finish October out with The Candyman from 2021. And yeah.
Yeah, 2011. OU was so they were both 4-0. They were undefeated, is what I'm getting at. So OU won 55-17. So I mean, that's why you don't remember.
Oh,
so
what was last year? What was last year?
With our tight end and quarterback?
No.
Hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're gonna see what's gonna happen this Saturday.
But he doesn't want to put the beard on the line. So you guys
put
see
money
that?
On the line.
You guys see that? He doesn't
what
want
you're
to put
saying
the
is
beard
someone's
on the
going to
line.
be cranky on next week's episode.
No,
or somebody may not even be on next week's episode.
Because I've already accepted defeat. Texas should beat us, but it is Texas. You can't always. 100% Texas should beat us. They have a better roster top to bottom.
Super Magic, motherfucker. Damn.
That's why they're going to win, though. That's what I'm saying. Texas should win, but it's still Texas at the end of the day.
What, just because they beat Bama?
No. Look at their roster, dude. They're top to bottom. They are better.
Ed, it's like the BK Stacker versus the McDouble. Okay?
It's knowing what's coming, being prepared for it, and if they lose, it is what it is. We'll be there next year.
No faith, bro.
It's not
No
about faith.
Yes, it is.
Ed's got you. Ed's willing to put his beard on the line.
Put
For
your beard on the
real.
line.
I did.
He did.
Okay.
That's what the pinky thing was for.
Yeah.
I thought you were just showing Lil Mitch.
Nope.
Shit.
Craig, you gonna start watching Loki season 2 tomorrow?
I might wait until next week.
Get 2
Somebody
episodes in.
had already watched it, and because somebody had already watched it and gave it a rating, and it was a low rating. So I'm like, I don't want to watch it, be disappointed. I want to be able to watch it and continue the story. So,
No faith.
I haven't put it on the social media yet, but I want you guys to. I want to hear your official thoughts for the November episodes. We're going to review Prey, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Barbie, Talk to Me, and Oppenheimer, all in the month of November.
Interesting.
Busy month.
All
5
2022
Wednesdays.
films. Oh no, Prey was last year. Never mind.
Should be a fun November. I can't wait to talk about those. But let's get in the email bag. You guys can send us some emails. CINEMEN921@gmail.com. Hit us up on the socials as well, and we will get into emails right now. Jeffrey says Birds is an all-time favorite. Love the film. Can't wait to hear you guys discuss it. 10 stars. Kevin says huge fan of Hitchcock films. I enjoyed all the episodes you guys talked about with him and on him. Can't wait to hear you guys talk about The Birds. To me, it gets a 9. Here's an interesting one. It's about streaming. Jessica says, what are you guys' thoughts on Disney Plus cracking down on password sharing? Heard rumors that they are going to go up in price as well. What's your thoughts on all this and streaming?
Stupid, man.
How deep do you want me to get?
About a 3-knuckler.
Well,
I'll just say, if it wasn't for Loki tomorrow, I still wouldn't have Disney Plus.
So don't get it. So cancel it and get it on physical media when it comes out next year.
Spend $32 on it.
Yeah.
So here's my thing.
Let me get Craig's thoughts.
Netflix conveniently says they're going to start raising their prices after the strike that just occurred, which means that, yes, they're paying the actors more, but they're putting the bill directly on the consumers. They're still going to keep their margins. They're still going to keep all that stuff. I have already considered stopping everything. What's this?
Considered.
Well,
they're going to continue to raise prices until everybody just says we're done with it.
I'm seeing if they actually do it because they're starting in Canada.
Well, they will.
They're starting in Canada, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's other ways to watch things even as they come out. Physical media being one of them. So there's one thing they can't take away from you, which is physical media. Which it seems like Netflix is taking away a lot of stuff off of the service, even though they're not. You know what I mean? Like
they're giving expiration dates.
So
yeah,
they're trying us in different ways to see what they can get away with, and at some point, Johnny, like you said, I agree. We all just need to call it quits for 3 months, 6 months, a year. Let us really hit their wallets, and then they'll be like, you know what? Maybe password sharing isn't that big of a deal. Because
$5.99.
I would rather have some consumers than no consumers.
I got to look at
here's
this.
the thing.
I see it. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, here's the thing with Netflix. I don't even know the last thing I've watched on Netflix. If it wasn't for whenever Stranger Things season 5 comes out.
2026,
I
2027.
I don't 2030, who knows? Millie Bobby Brown will be 40 years old, but I don't care. Honestly, don't care. I mean, honestly, I'm really thinking about once Stranger Things is done, just getting rid of Netflix because I haven't watched anything on there probably in I don't even know how long.
And see,
One
that's
Piece.
that's where they get you. They're like, oh look, it's just next year, Zach. It's just next year,
Exactly.
and then you continue to stay. So this is the point I want to get at. 15, 20 years ago, nobody was complaining about cable companies raising their prices. You couldn't watch your cable companies or your cable shows outside of your household anyway. So that's why I think streaming is doing that now, because cable was able to have their pie and eat it too. It's kind of the same thing now. Crackdown can't take Disney Plus outside your home, can't even watch it on your tablet unless you pay extra for it. So,
Well, so here-
I get that. Everybody wants, their cut of the pie, and these big corporations are getting greedier. But just like Craig said, just like we always say, I always say, they can even take away digital copies that come with the movies. They can take that away. You don't
It's all a
own
rental. It's all a rental.
exactly. You don't own a digital copy. If it comes with the movie, you don't own it. The only way you're going to own your movies or TV shows is if you go out there and you physically you buy them. Nobody can take this away.
They can take away my streaming. They can take away my digital, but they'll never take my physical copy. Fucking
That would
William
be
Wallace over here.
that would be a terrific skit for Johnny to just get full blown
William Wallace in the damn thing with
Hey,
the sword.
I have the beach towel.
Oh shit! Hell yeah! Let's go.
But I'm just gonna say, like, if you guys, everybody out there who emails, because people email all the time, people comment. I have a whole physical media page on the Instagram. Go check it out. The only way you're going to be able to stop these prices from rising is just simply stop watching.
Because they know you're gonna if you continue to pay, they know you're gonna continue. Like, they trickle it out here and there, and it's like, oh, it's just $1, but then you go back and look, and you're paying $18.99 when it was $11.99 3 years ago.
There's no such thing as grandfathered time in either. Like, it's always gonna your prices are gonna continue to skyrocket. I saw Hulu's going to, I think, 14, or no, they're going to $17.99. All these by the end of next year, I'm sure they're all going to be $20 a month.
Well, even with the no ad tiers, like Hulu with ads was like $6.99. Without ads, they're like $13.99. It's just like, really, you're going to charge me to not watch promoting different merchandise? Like, really?
Dude,
that's
really
stupid.
And in today's America, where everything is overpriced and the companies are getting away with essentially anything they want, they're taking every penny away from the American people so that you can no longer save and afford to go out and do things. And that's a deeper conversation for another day, but they're keeping the broke, and they know what they're doing.
Well, I think one day we'll have just a whole episode dedicated to physical media and streaming talks and trying to keep the man down.
Step off.
Henry says Birds was a little too slow for my liking. It was a first time watch though, 6 stars. Omar says enjoyed Birds. Not a big fan of old time classic films, but I would like to start getting into a lot more. What do you guys recommend for me to get into older films?
There he goes, Dallas.
Don't listen to any suggestion.
That's a different kind of big old Mitch.
I mean, it all depends on kind of what you're looking for.
Psycho, Full Metal Jacket, The Exorcist. I mean, Jaws, of course. You've got, dude, there's a ton. You've got 100+ years at your disposal, dude. Check out the 100 movies you should watch before you die. Guarantee you'll go ahead and love at least half of those.
You'll see a lot of stuff from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and onwards. So
I always plug people into To Kill a Mockingbird or
Casablanca.
Casablanca's in and out. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes. Or also It's a Wonderful Life. And I think
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life is one of those movies that you can watch any time of year because of all the meaning around it. So if I had to pick any movies to recommend, it'd be those. But like Ed said, go onto websites, top
American
100.
Pie.
Yeah, that's not a 60s or 40s. Anyway, it's still
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
25, 26, somewhere around there.
Whitney says, love spooky season. Can't wait to hear you guys talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I prefer that instead of the original. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
We're fighting words for some people. Be careful.
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about it next week. Jonathan says, Birds gets a 9 for me. Sam G69, I'd love to hear you guys talk about Universal Monsters as well. Love your
Yeah.
Dracula
Hell yeah.
episode.
Hell yeah. I'll be
That's
down for
another
that.
conversation too. That's another set of films that are from the 30s and 40s that, who was that? Omar. Go check some of those out. Those are all on Peacock too, by the way, right, Zach?
Yeah, I think Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, the Wolfman, I think they're all on Peacock, yeah.
Go check out the Peacock.
Yeah.
Dracula. And speaking of like sounds and scores, Zach, we talked about it on that episode.
Yeah.
Dracula was one of those where it didn't really have a score, but they added one to it, and it made it seem like the film went by a lot faster. So,
Yeah.
Darren says, loved the email last week about you guys reviewing 80s action films and films and discussing Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you guys were not on this a few weeks ago, we talked. Ed, are you okay? we talked to actor Zach Shear, and one of his favorite actors of all time was Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that's where that conversation came in.
RVD.
Sarah 97 says Bird was a good rewatch. It gets an 8 from me. Andrew says Star Trek Beyond was so boring. Hated this last installment. 5 stars.
Wow.
Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really feel.
Clarence says Birds was so slow. Didn't enjoy it at all. I tried 3 times. Still had a hard time finishing it. I'm sure your conversation will be more entertaining than the film. 4 stars.
There you go, Ed. Someone hated it more than you did.
I debated. I did.
Will says Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 is awful compared to the original. Haven't seen it in years, but I remember it being god awful. Can't wait to see you guys' opinion. I give it and I'll give you Will's star rating next week when we talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003.
And if you're looking to watch it, I just saw that they just added it on Max this week, so you can check it out there.
To the max.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 next week. Before we get to that, anybody else have any final comments on the Birds, and we can stick the final nail in the coffin before next week?
Oh. You did it.
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit.
All right.
Nah, man. I mean, honestly, just because it's not like one of my favorite films or a film that I'm gonna like watch every couple months doesn't mean that it's a crappy film. Doesn't mean you should hate the film. That means you should get your own opinion on the film, try it out, go take it for a test drive. You might like it a bit more than I did. I don't know. I'm just some jackass in Oklahoma that kind of does something like this every now and then, man. It's just an opinion.
Art is in the eye of the beholder.
Yep.
And we were talking more art next week. Different kind of horror film than what we talked about today. Are you guys excited for Texas Chainsaw 2003? Should be a fun conversation.
Yes. Justin Timberlake's wife, of course.
I'm gonna get my blanket, my popcorn, and something to drink.
Your chainsaw.
My chainsaw? I don't even have a chainsaw.
And don't forget, next week we're talking our top 5 horror villains, all in the midst of Texas Chainsaw 2003. Is anybody going to watch the prequel before you watch this one, which is Texas Chainsaw: The Beginning?
Ooh.
I
might, yeah.
Too, so.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna just. It's Texas week, so I'm gonna just go through all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres.
Just like I was going to go through that,
Don't forget, next week, one of us here on this video stream will have no beard. It's either be me or Ed.
Shave it on stream.
I don't want to get
Really?
hair on my carpet.
Give
Same.
me the little trash bag, and
That's true.
it won't be me because I didn't bet it.
That's true. It's between me and Ed.
I'll lose a beard over money all day.
There's
next
only
week,
$10.
it should be fun. I'm excited. It's been a few years since we've talked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but it was just me and Ed year one. So,
Hell yeah.
should
Year
be
one?
pretty fun. Yeah,
That's a movie we should do.
Jack Black.
Year one.
Oh. Oh.
I haven't. Somebody had mentioned that movie. I think it was on the School of Rock episode. I think
Ella.
Was it
It was
me
Ella
or
that brought
John?
it up. Yeah.
Ella mentioned it.
But yeah, Zach, what about you? You excited for Texas Chainsaw next week? First time watch?
No, I've seen it a couple. I've seen it a couple times, so it'll be interesting conversation,
Nice.
especially just with all the remake trends right that happened. So
Don't forget about the 2022 version as well. I think there was a Texas Chainsaw for 2022. Anyway, we'll
Texas
talk.
Chainsaw, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk all the remakes, reboots, requels, and sequels next week. Craig, Ed, you guys are excited? Texas Chainsaw next week.
Yes, sir.
I honestly couldn't tell you anything about the Chainsaw series.
Well, we're talking for the one from 03 next week. So get your popcorn ready and your beef jerky because we are out of time. And we'll see you next week right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Boomer.